I know you were pleased with the performance last weekend, perhaps a little bit disappointed not to get all 3 points, Sean. So how has everybody come through that and how are you shaping up for this weekend's match?
Yeah, I wouldn't be greedy enough to say that we should have got 3 points. I thought we had a chance to get three, as they did. You know, both keepers were on top on the day, but in between the keepers, I thought there was a good performance. And certainly from our point of view, finding the balance I've spoken about, you know, many, many times is the idea of being strong defensively in the shape of the team and the organisation of the team, but still having the freedom to go and play and open up the opposition when you can. And I thought there was a nice balance to that, and glue that together with a high physical demand. And I think we're often in the right place, and I think we're on the right place, or on the right lines, I should say, against Everton. And you know, a couple of the other games recently, you know, people forget, as I mentioned last week, that we had a big blip against Man City, but they're a top side. They can hurt anyone on their day. So we had to look a little bit beyond that. Ooh. Strange noise. That wasn't me.
In terms of team news, have you got any players coming back this weekend?
I don't think anyone jumps off the page. Bardo should be around it. Dale Stephens possibly needs a bit more football. Excuse me. The ones who Johan's still touch and go, we'll have to make a decision on him at this stage, and I think probably he'll need more recovery time to get him properly up and running, as it were. Corky's making good progress, so he's on the grass with us. Obviously, he definitely needs some games, but he's on the grass with us now, which is good to see him back out there. And so far, no reaction, so that's good. It's just Corky on his way back, and Johan, who needs that real true fitness and kind of run of just being injury free, to be honest. And like I said, Bardo and Dale, they'll be back at least in the training group as they have been the last number of days.
In respect of Corky himself, what chance that we see him involved in any of the games over Christmas when the squad's naturally going to be stretched anyway?
No, first things first is to make sure that he's fit and well, as in properly fit and well. So he's been out with a tricky injury that needed some real care and attention, which he's done brilliant with, of course, and the medical team. And now it's about having a kind of commonsensical approach to it. He's going to need some football. I've always been a believer that players, they deserve the right to be fully fit when they play. We've tried to get that here. It's very rare that I've ever asked anything of a player when they're not quite fit or they're not quite physically right. On occasion, but not very often. So we certainly want him to be 100% or as close to that as can be before he gets on the pitch with the real stuff.
I know last Saturday as well, you were particularly pleased with the way you started the game as a team. You got the early goal, you're on the front foot. Away at Arsenal, can you be quite so positive from the start, or does the natural law of the game, so to speak, away from home at one of the top six sides generally dictate that you've perhaps got to be a little bit more careful?
Well, I think over the years we haven't had a result against them, but we've actually stepped on in a number of games, and a few decisions have gone against us down the years, and you know, we've actually delivered some really good performances. You know, we're going to have to do that again. You know, a bit of noise around them at the minute, up and down, and the form, etc. But the investment they've made in the players there, money doesn't win you games, but it does. It probably ensures that you've got some quality, and they certainly have quality. So I think, you know, we've got to be diligent to what we do, that's for sure. But go down there on the front foot, take the game on, as we mainly do. We've had a few slip-ups, but we mainly try and take the game on to win it, and that's certainly going to be the mindset going down there.
What do you make of Arsenal this season? Because you touched upon it there, there's a bit of noise around them. I said they're usually a top six side, they're currently 15th. I heard last week one broadcaster suggest that they'd sacrificed a bit of creativity for structure this season. Is it justified criticism or a little bit unfair?
Criticism, whether it's justified or not, it's there. It's there for everyone to deal with in the Premier League, managers, coaches, players. So I think that's just part of what it is. Regarding the team, I think, you know, it takes time to find the right balances for a manager and the coaches and the players. And, you know, every manager is looking ideally to keep clean sheets and score goals, quite obviously, in its simplest form. The idea of finding the right way of doing that is not always that easy. Whether you've got the very good players or not very good players, you know, finding that balance is still an important factor. And if you add in a little bit of noise, as you said, you know, big expectation of Arsenal, of course, generally speaking, year on year, mainly because of the last 20 or so years under Arsene Wenger, which, you know, mostly has been unbelievable. So I think that's a tricky one itself, coming out of the Wenger period and then putting your own mark on it. We don't take anyone for granted. You know, back to the point, they're still a top side. They've got players who, you know, have been brought in for a fortune, are very good. They're very, you know, they can turn games at any given moment. We've got to safeguard against that, and the only way of doing that is for us to play well. I mean, you can't expect to get anything from these games if you don't play well. In spite of whether the opposition are having an up and down time or not, you have to play well, and that's going to be our focus.
Yeah, and at least looking on paper, they've got players like Aubameyang, like Lacazette, Eddie Nketiah has come off the bench and is potent with his pace as well. They're not a team to be taken lightly, are they?
No, I don't think anyone has. I don't think it's a case of that. You know, like I say, a few opinions on them at the moment, but you've still got to go down there and play well. You've got to be aware of the qualities that they have, but I think people are, generally speaking. You know, we can't concern ourselves with too much about the opposition. You know, we've got our own challenges, and, you know, often find ourselves answering questions about the opposition, but trust me, we'll be focusing on ourselves, the players. They've trained very, very well lately. We've got a group of players who are getting fully fit again. That sharpness in the players that have kind of needed the football is beginning to come back. And I think generally we're looking like a stronger unit. Now, we've got to turn that kind of stronger looking unit and stronger performances into wins. It's you know, it's not rocket science, that side of things, because I can talk about stronger performances and all the rest of it, but sooner or later we've got to put wins together. We're showing the right signs, but we've got to factually go and take care of ourselves and take care of business. So that's what the thought before the game will certainly be, in planning and when the whistle blows.
Final one from me, Sean. You know how difficult it can be to turn around from playing Europa League Thursday, playing Premier League Sunday. Can you use that to your advantage, given that's the situation Arsenal find themselves in right now?
Well, they made a lot of changes. There was a lot of young players played, got a good result. So I would imagine that some of them changes will be, or some of the changes will be reversed, and some of the more experienced players will come back in. So I think they're slightly more rounded in that world than we were when we went into Europa. You know, it's the first season in 50 years. So it's a bit of a different learning curve.
Brilliant. Best of luck this weekend, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Rebecca, hi Rebecca. Premier League Productions.
Hi Sean, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good point against Everton last weekend. Do you feel with a result like that it gives the team more of a boost going into the game against Arsenal?
I think we've been sort of looking for a boost. I think the general feel in the camp has been very good. I think the application of training ground performances into first team performances has got stronger. So I don't think it's necessarily a boost. I think what it does, it reinforces the good work done. But of course, the facts are the facts. It was only a point. The thing behind the point was the way we went about it. So I think the key is to stick with what we're doing, know what we're doing, and keep working to enhance it, of course. But because of the historical data we've got and the markers we've got, when we supply certain performances on a consistent level, we know that it brings results. So we've got to remind the players of that and keep adding to it in order to get results.
And obviously taking on Arsenal, who are currently 15th in the table, they're only actually 7 points above you. Do you think this is a good time to play them in the season?
Well, I think it's one of them. They've still got very good players, you know, individually. They're still a collective unit. Possibly they're finding their feet still. You know, we've seen the up and down nature of some of their results. But, I mean, you can't take these teams lightly. We never do. We never take anyone lightly in the Premier League. But, you know, you certainly can't take these teams lightly. They can click at any time. They haven't always found that so far. We hope they don't, of course, when we play them. We hope we do. We hope we want to click into what we do. We know we can be effective, as mentioned, and I think a lot of our focus is on us, that's for sure. We always make the players aware of the opposition and some of their strengths and weaknesses, but a lot of the focus remains on us at the minute. We've been working a lot with the players on what we're doing, both in and out of possession, and how we're going about our business. So that'll be the main focus for us.
And Burnley have been beaten on all 6 of their Premier League visits to the Emirates. Will you be looking to change history this weekend?
Well, thanks for the positive. It's always nice when people remind me of these things, as if I didn't know them. But no, we'll certainly... No, look, we know the stats and facts. We know our history. We know what we want to do in the future. But the last one doesn't guarantee the next one, good or bad. So there's certainly no relying or looking at them games as being something that's taken Sunday. We think we've delivered some good performances actually against Arsenal, as I mentioned, and we haven't always got what we deserved. but that's sometimes the nature of it. If we don't deliver, but we get a nice win, then sometimes you take that. But you want to work on the basis that the performances get you points and wins, and that's what we're trying to do. We think the performances have got stronger. We want to build on that. We want to take a good performance to Arsenal and see where it takes us.